go somewhere that gets you out of your comfort zone. It's a scary decision for a lot of people to make, but I can't recommend that enough.
Hey everyone, my name is Sarah. Welcome to Friendly Faces, Amazing Places, a podcast where each week I share stories from real people I've met while traveling. Everything from horror stories to inspiring adventures to insightful tips and advice. So sit back, fasten your seatbelt, and come explore the world with me and my friends. Hello again, everybody. This is week 3 of this podcast. Very exciting. This week I interviewed my friend Steven, who went from running the bases to running around the world. Yes, he was a professional baseball player, and now he's a professional nomad. Steven is a true adventurer. He's always up for anything. He's a mindful traveler and a fitness role model. Steven is still out there. He's currently in Thailand, so really excited to hear from him, and I hope you guys are too. Enjoy. Steven, welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to have you on, and I am calling you from America, and you are in, where are you?
I am in Koh Lanta, Thailand. Yes, it is in southern Thailand.
Will you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So I am Steven Whalen. I quit my job about 10 months ago I sold everything I have, got a 45-liter bag, and started traveling. I got a one-way ticket to Dublin, Ireland, and I've been on the road ever since.
Yes, awesome. I love it.
Yes.
You're from Texas, right? What is something you would recommend someone to do in your hometown?
In Austin, Texas. So actually before I started traveling, I made a Couchsurfing profile. So I was actually having people from around the world stay with me. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite things to do was when they would come, I would show them some of my favorite things.
That's super
cool. So if let's say you were to come stay with me in Austin, one of my favorite things to do is I take people to Town Lake, which is a lake that runs right through downtown Austin. And I love paddleboarding. Stand-up paddleboarding is like one of my biggest hobbies. We would paddleboard to one of my favorite spots in Austin, which is the Barton Springs pool, it's absolutely incredible. And another thing I would do is I'd probably take you to the Greenbelt, which is another beautiful nature trail that's right in downtown Austin. So that's one of my favorite things about Austin, Texas is it has a little bit of that city feel, but you also have nature.
So how did we meet?
We met in Colombia. Workaway.info is a incredible site for all those people that are listening.
We're not sponsored by Workaway. I would like to put that out there, but I'm not against being sponsored by Workaway either.
This could be a good op.
Yep.
But so I wanted to do a Workaway while I was traveling, especially in South America, and it looked like language teaching was a big need in like the Workaway posts. So I just found Get On Institute that you found as well, and went down to the beautiful town of Villa de Leyva, and that's where it's coming back because you're actually the first person I met. That's funny. So I had a really late flight, got dropped off at the bus station. I tried getting in touch with people that were running the institute. And I couldn't get a hold of them. So I was just wandering the streets of Villa de Leyva trying to find this language school. And I was like, and there's not that many people that speak English. So I was like asking people in my terrible Spanglish, like, hey, do you know where this language school is, And as I was walking, I saw you kind of walk out the door, and I was like, hey, that looks like an American right there, that redheaded American. Yeah, I was like, hey. And it was so funny because you were like, as you should, you were like in defense mode, like don't respond to strange men.
I looked over
just
my
say,
shoulder
hey.
and I was like, who is this large white man who's walking towards me?
And I mean, and that's good. I'm glad that you did that. You shouldn't respond to strange men yelling at you. Finally I was persistent and kept running towards you, and I was like, hey, that building you just came out of, I'm supposed to be working there. And you were like, okay. And you were really hesitant. And then finally I convinced you, like, listen, I swear to God, I'm supposed to be working here. And then after that, you're like, okay, I dropped my bag off, and then you were headed to dinner to meet the rest of the teachers. Yeah, that's how we met. And so
Americans find each other. It doesn't matter where we are in the world, we find each other. What kind of traveler do you consider yourself?
Because now I'm 9, maybe even 10 months in, and I would consider myself starting to be a seasoned traveler. I'm definitely I'm a solo I'm a solo nomad.
A solo nomad.
putting those words together.
It sounds so sad when you put them together.
Yeah, just a solo nomad in the world.
I'm a hermit.
Yeah, but it's funny. Those that do travel solo are never alone.
Yeah.
It sounds weird when you're explaining to people that aren't travelers, but when you say, yeah, I'm a solo traveler, they're like, oh my God, doesn't it get lonely? And the answer is always absolutely not. You meet more people than you would if you were traveling with friends.
Yeah.
Because you actually are forced to get outside of your comfort zone in your box and talk to people. That's my favorite part about traveling, is meeting other people, and especially meeting people that I normally may not be hanging out with or talk to, and we're best friends. It's awesome. It's one of the best parts about the travel road.
Have you always traveled your whole life, or when did you start?
I played baseball. I grew up playing baseball, and my dream was always to play professionally. And so I went to college at University of Houston, University of New Orleans, and just through baseball, you travel quite a bit. Now we're talking about within the United States. The first professional team I played for, it was this minor league team out of Michigan. And the team had very little money. So I always traveled through baseball. I quit when I was 25, but I traveled through baseball, and that was amazing. But at 23 years old, I had graduated college. It was the off season, and I was like, I want to do a big trip. And so I did some research, and I found this trip in South America, in Peru, through a outfitter called Active Adventures, a 17-day trip. It was like half trekking and then half like, going to see cities and things like this. And that's where I would say like the true fire started, growing in my belly for like just the love of like just different cultures and things like this.
Was that the first time you had been out of the United States?
That I had been to, I believe, like Costa Rica with my family, like once, but again, it was your Costa Rica, like resort style, like American style, like where we go to the resort. You don't really leave that resort, you're kind of in the comfort of your own home. So this was my first time like getting outside of that box, meeting with the locals and going to different markets in town. That was the trip that like I never knew it, but it was always in my mind. That's what started it all. I would say it was that trip to Peru. Yeah, at 23.
I think a lot of people have that formative travel story that made them want to go and do what we're doing now. So I've been on your Instagram a lot, and you do a lot of like yoga and sports and stuff. And how has being in the world of sports helped you make connections as you travel? I
was a strength and conditioning coach from 26 to when I quit my job. My last job was at University of Texas. I was a strength coach with the baseball team. When I hit the road, I'd be places and I'd want to work out. So I'd figure out just different creative ways to like work out. And on Instagram, I started doing like these 15-second time-lapse videos of me just working out like somewhere crazy, like, on a mountain. That's where I got a lot of my attention. Like a lot of the DMs and things started coming in from like those videos. And so it kind of gave me this idea, like, what if I could like do like, fitness and wellness type stuff on the road and make money and continue traveling. That's what kind of started it, was those short little videos on Instagram. But yeah, I love fitness. Like right now, I'll just give you an example. Here at this house I'm living in Thailand, there's 6 other digital nomads that I'm working with. And every morning we wake up, we do yoga, and then I actually run a fitness class at 5:30, like just for fun, just for fun, because I enjoy doing it. Yeah. So even though I'm on the travel road, I definitely still maintain that love of fitness and wellness.
I love seeing your workout videos because it reminds me that you can still have like a normal health and fitness routine, even if you've been traveling for however long you've been traveling for 10 months, And
for sure.
I just think it's amazing because when we were working together at the Language Institute, you and some of the other volunteers would go work out to spend time together, or you and the kids would go outside and do some sort of fitness thing together. And it just feels like a really natural form of connection that you have with people.
And you're very good at that too, Sarah. So like, you have that natural.
I've got the dance.
Like,
I do the dance connection.
Well, the dance thing, but it's cool, when you're surrounded by like groups of people, or like for instance in Via de Leyva, like kids, you see like people's natural skills come out. And so like, just being able to connect with kids and lead those kids through activity sounds easy, but it's actually a pretty challenging thing. Yeah, as you know, it's a pretty challenging thing. And so for me, the natural way of going about it is just through movement and sports and physical activity and games and things like this. Yeah, it's a great way to connect people and get people engaged, especially if you can get kids engaged, like you can get like, anybody engaged. So, yeah.
Do you have an overall favorite place that you have been in the world?
I've been to now, since I left home, I believe 23 or 24 countries. I've been to some amazing, amazing places. But the places that actually stick out in my head, like whenever I get asked this question, the first place is the Balkans. A lot of people think when they go to Europe, they're obviously spending time in Western Europe and places like this, or maybe they go down to Greece. But there's this beautiful area, the former Yugoslavia, like right above Greece and in Eastern Europe. That's just absolutely amazing. And I was recommended this place because I was in Europe, and even though I was doing a good job with my budget, I met this one girl that was just like, hey, if you really want to take it easy on your budget for a while, you need to go to a place called Sarajevo in Bosnia. And I was just like, I've never heard of that place in my life. So I was like, okay, sounds good. And I got a flight and worked my way down to Sarajevo. And it was like the best thing that I ever did, because it was just like such a very unique city, so beautiful. And the people there were so sweet. Another area, I couch surfed with a guy in Macedonia. And he was actually in an area called Lake Orkrid specifically. You go down there and you think you went back in time. And you feel like it's an ocean, but it's a lake. It's so incredible. And the other reason I like it too is because I love actually going places where like all of a sudden you start speaking English and no one knows what you're talking about. I'm like, okay, I'm in the right place. I'll give one more. And then Bulgaria, because I love hiking and outdoors. Yeah. Bulgaria had some national parks that were just absolutely unbelievable. As a person that loves to hike and outdoors, it was just like, it was like paradise,
Awesome. So this is Around the World in 20 Questions. Number 1, plan it or wing it?
Wing it.
Solo travel or group travel?
Solo travel.
Are you a heavy packer or a light packer?
Light packer.
Beaches or mountains?
Ooh, mountains.
Desert or rainforest?
Desert.
Cities or nature?
Nature.
Maybe the hardest question you'll ever be asked. What is a favorite food from your travels?
Well, that's actually easy right now because it's Thai green curry.
Really?
And that really is, I think, overall the best one as well. Yeah, and I'm in Thai. I eat that every single day.
What is your favorite drink or beverage?
My favorite beverage on the travel road is always coffee, because I love trying different coffee in different places. And so I start my day like that, and every coffee all over the world is unique. But specifically in Bosnia, they had this, the Turkish style coffee where they have that they serve you the hot water and they just serve you the fine coffee grounds, and you got to pour the hot water into the coffee grounds. It's just a small little shot, but that sucker will wake you up. It's the strongest coffee I've ever had in my life.
Coffee is a great answer. I didn't even start drinking coffee at all until after I went to Cuba and I had Cuban coffee.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you drinking it via de Leyva? Were you drinking coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought you were part of that.
I went to Cuba 2 years ago and I had Cuban coffee
that's right.
Then I started drinking coffee after that. But not in the US that much. I drank a lot in Colombia. Yeah.
Which is odd because you're in the Seattle area.
I know.
You would think just by stereotyping, I'd be like, you're
I'm
a coffee drinker.
Capital. No,
like,
it's true. It's true.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's true. What is the longest flight you've been on?
Los Angeles to Tokyo, I think.
On a plane, would you rather sit next to a really smelly person or a crying baby?
Absolutely a smelly person.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So that way I could at least sleep.
If your travels were a movie, what genre would they be?
I'd say adventure comedy.
Are you a for the gram or for the fam photographer?
I would say, can I say both? Because the whole reason I started the Instagram was actually to communicate back to the athletes that I was coaching at University of Texas, and to let my family know I was alive. So that's how it started.
Skydiving or scuba diving?
Scuba diving.
What's the coolest historical thing you've seen?
Kind of like a nerd when it comes to some movies. Like Gladiator is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Like you know that scene where he's in the middle of the thing and he's throwing the sword into the crowd and he's like, "Are you not entertained?" You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Do you remember this? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was in Morocco and there's a cash ball in the desert called At Ben Hadou. We're walking around, and the guy that we're with, that's taking us through the cash ball, he was like, "Hey, yeah, if anyone's seen the movie Gladiator, this is where one of the scenes was shot." And I got to the front. I was like, "Hold on, which scene?" I was like, "Which scene are you talking about?" And he's just like, "Oh yeah, it's that scene." And I was like, "No way!" So like, I for the gram, like filmed that for immediately filmed that, and then I should have gotten in the middle and like reenacted that scene. But I think some of the locals would have been looking at me really strange.
That's awesome. I love that story. That's great.
Yeah.
Walking tours or going rogue?
The first thing I like to do in major cities is actually the first day I'm there, take a free walking tour. It's a great way to get your bearings for the city, and then you kind of get an idea of like what part of the city you want to go back, or what part of the city maybe you want to even stay. But then also one of my favorite things to do is wake up super early in the morning, like 6 a.m. before anyone's up, get my coffee, and then just go for a walk. And just you see stuff like street art. Like you run into street art and you're like, wow, this is super cool. Like something you would normally just pass right by because there's so many people. Different architecture throughout the city.
I'm the same way. I like to, the first day or two that I'm in a new city, I'll literally just get my camera and my bag and like a water bottle, and I'll just walk as much of the city as I can.
I can't recommend that enough. Just like you just said, like you have your own personal experiences that you can't even explain, you know, like I think it's a great way to really connect with the city.
What is one essential thing that you always pack?
Soap, because a lot of the hostels that you go to will not have soap. And then the other two is actually I have the eye mask and then the earplugs, because in a lot of these hostels there's always going to be someone snoring, someone going to be flicking on the lights, there's going to be light coming in from the street.
Okay, a little bit of a raunchier question. Would you rather have a hot one-night stand or a week-long travel romance that fizzles out?
I would say absolutely the weekend romance.
What is the most romantic place you can think of to take a date?
The first one that comes to mind is southern Spain. You just walk down these streets and then there'll be like a guy like just sitting down playing the Spanish guitar. The acoustics, because of the buildings being so close, are just incredible, you know? They got little chairs out on the street serving coffee and...
Awesome. If you could live anywhere in the world and money wasn't an issue, where would you live?
Again, I'd go back to southern Spain. Southern Spain is pretty incredible.
So for some people, travel is just like a vacation, a spring break, 2 weeks off from work if you have that kind of 9-to-5 job. And for some people like us, it's a bigger part of our life, I guess. What role does travel play in your life, and how has it changed you?
You know, a lot of people say like travel changes you, and I would agree with this 100%. But I think that I was already kind of working on myself before I hit the travel road, and so when I hit the travel road, I was able to really enjoy the moments. I wasn't so much of like, what's next? It was just kind of like, I'd go somewhere and just truly be present and in the moment. That's something the travel roads taught me, and that I want to continue. If I do go back to a regular home life, it's something that I want to bring back with me, is that lesson, that present moment living, you know?
I think that's something that we're not taught also as Americans. I think as Americans, we're taught that we always need to be working towards the next goal, or towards the next success.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, like you go to these other countries and you just observe the people and the culture, and you realize there is a more relaxed, laid back vibe. And I think for Americans, let's say, for example, I'm on a vacation, I go to somewhere in Europe or maybe South America, and all of a sudden I'm ordering food and I'm used to getting my food like this and getting, it's just not the case. But you get used to it. Like, cause in America, it's chop, chop, chop. This is what I want now. Da, da, da. You learn on the road to be like, hey man, like just relax, like everything's cool. It's just more of a laid back, easygoing vibe. And I think there's something to that, that I respect. That you see other people in cultures actually that they're working, they work hard, but then they also are able to completely put that away and just enjoy life. And that's something that you see and appreciate. And you're like, wow, because how many people back home in America are taking their work home with them or are just working around the clock, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, there's just other places where you see there's just this more laid back mentality.
This is a little bit more on the tips side, but how do you decide where to go?
I would prefer to travel based on other actual in the trench traveler recommendations, like people I meet and come across organically. I'd rather go to places that they recommend. And that's honestly how I've been doing it. Like that's how I got here down here to Koh Lanta. I started in Bangkok, had no idea where I was going to go. I was with another guy I met in Nepal. He's a Czech guy. And we just went like city to city till we hit southern Thailand. And then he went his way, I went my way to this island that I am here, that I'm now, Koh Lanta. I love that type of travel.
Do you have any money saving tips that you want to share with travelers who might be listening to this?
I'll start with apps because I'll just give you my apps that I use frequently. Trail Wallet is a free app that I use. Basically what you do is you set a budget for each day or for a city, and it literally keeps you just log all your expenses in there, and it lets you know when you go over. The other one is Couchsurfing.
Yeah.
Couchsurfing. I recommend everybody make a Couchsurfing profile.
Can you explain how Couchsurfing works?
It's like a Facebook for travelers. So you download the app, you create your profile. Let's say I'm back in Austin, Texas, and I know that on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm not really doing much. So I open up my couch. I basically make a notification that, hey, I'm Stephen Whalen and I live in Austin, Texas, and my couch is available from this date to this date. And so I get someone who messages me who says, hey, I'm so-and-so. And so basically it's like Uber. I look at their rating, like if they've had other stays, I look at their rating. There's two different types of couch surfers. There's one that you really are just getting like a free place to stay. But really what the Couchsurfing community is all about is it's about the stay, but also building a relationship with that traveler, like showing them around, giving them recommendations, going to get something to eat, maybe cooking. For me, I would always want to offer to cook them something, hey, let me cook you like a Texas chili or something like that, I also have something called Couchsurfing Hangouts. So even if you're not staying, put that you're available from this time to this time. I'm going to be, or hey, I'm going to be at this restaurant or bar from this time to this time in Medellin. And other travelers that are in that area can actually, that have the Couchsurfing app, can look at that and message you and be like, hey, I'll meet you there,
Yeah.
And so it's, again, it's like a Facebook for travelers. So it's a pretty cool community. Yeah, and then Workaway, you and I, and that was the last one, is Workaway, which you and I have both done. It's a great way to get some cultural exchange, but you get a free place to stay, free food, and it's also something you can even put on a resume, and get a good experience. If you're in Europe, Flixbus, download the app. Great way, if you don't mind bus rides, it's, in my opinion, one of the best ways to get around Europe is Flixbus. And then books, there's two. Okay. One's called, my first travel book that I picked up was Vagabonding by Rolf Potts. And then the other one is Travel the World on $50 a Day by a blogger named Nomadic Matt. And then for female travelers, I actually met this girl up. She was in Sarajevo, and I met her up for dinner. But she has a podcast called Jump Podcast. She goes by, she's a blogger called Traveling Jackie.
You met her? Wow.
And I did. I saw on her Instagram that she was in Sarajevo. I was in Sarajevo. So I was hoping I wasn't going to come off like a creep, but I was like, hey, Jackie, like, I'm a really big fan. Can I'm in Sarajevo, like maybe we can meet up for a drink. And she was actually there with like 4 of the friends, like for hiking. And she's like, yeah, you can meet me up at this. I'm going to be at this restaurant. And I actually did. And I don't think she actually thought I would follow through. And so like I sat down at the table, and like all of her friends were like interrogating me, like, are you making sure I wasn't like some creep? And I was like, no, I'm really just like a big fan of her podcast. Like, you know, like that's all it is. But it was cool. Like she was super sweet. Her friends were cool. But yeah, she's got a great podcast for anybody, but especially for those just like yourself. Like, as you know, like it does take some bravery as a solo female traveler to get out there. And I think people like Jackie is an inspiration for that population, but really for anyone, you know, and people like yourself, like also an inspiration. And I respect that so much for women getting out there and hitting the travel road. You know, it's pretty awesome. So
yeah, thanks for saying that. It's nice to hear that acknowledged sometimes, because we hear, mostly what I hear as a woman traveling by myself is people are like, aren't you so scared? Aren't you so like nervous? And it's nice to hear a positive reinforcement, like, oh, that's cool what you're doing. Do you have any safety tips or tricks? You know,
especially for someone who likes to go to the bar or the pub, like just use your head. Like if you're by yourself, don't go out and get hammered and then start wandering the streets. Just not a good idea. One thing that I highly recommend is that if you are staying at hostels, is go out with other people from your hostels. I've never been in a situation in a hostel where when people go out together, they don't take care of each other. Everybody kind of takes care of each other when they go out in groups, even if it's like 2 or 3 people they met that night at the hostel. So I would say, you know, at the hostels, making friends, going out with friends, it's always going to be stronger in numbers. The other thing is, you know, I learned this pretty quick, but like Google Maps is amazing, but you can also look like a typical tourist if you're wandering a city with your phone right in front of your face, staring at Google Maps. So my recommendation is glance at your phone, check out your route, and then put it right back in your pocket, and then bring it back out again to check it again. Don't have your phone out and just sit there staring at it like it's a radar and walking around like it's a radar. Because one, you stand out like a sore thumb. You're a pickpocketer's dream, and you look like a tourist. you look like you're not from there. So it's like fake it till you make it. Like act like you're supposed to be somewhere, even if you're not. And then the other thing is, this is the last one, is don't be afraid to ask locals questions, even if they are going to look at you like a jackass. If you feel like you're in a bad situation, or you have that bad gut feeling, go into a restaurant or a pub and ask one of the locals, like, hey, I don't know where I am. How do I get here? Also, pants with zippers. That's the other one. Like all the shorts and pocket zippers.
Oh, yes. Okay. I was like, are you not zipping your pants up? Like
all of my shorts, especially through like places in Europe and you know, South America, places where pickpocketing is a thing. Pants with zippers.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you said, and I just wanted to add that asking locals for help, you always be careful, but also you find yourself realizing that people are innately really kind, I think. At least in my experience, whenever I've asked for help, it's like they're not, they might be judging you as a tourist, but they're also so friendly and so willing to help, and most people are. So, do you have any pet peeves about other travelers?
I hate to say this, but like, it's more of like, I guess, the Westerners. That you're at a restaurant and all of a sudden you start hearing people like barking orders, or at like a waitress or a waiter, or they're just constantly complaining about something. I mean, every culture can do that, but like sometimes I hear stuff like that. I'm just like, man, like, what did you're it's just not respectful in my opinion. I can't stand that. Another one is just not respecting the locals. Like, I think one of the first things you should do as a responsible traveler is at least, you don't have to like study it up, but at least get like just a broad understanding of what that culture is, whether it's like religion, for example. Like if you're in some countries, like wearing pants it might be something that is like when we were in Via de Leyva, like everyone wore pants. Like, so if you're the one wearing shorts, which I did, like you stand out. Yeah. But there's like, if there's a religious reason, maybe just respecting that religion and respecting those locals, and just not being like a loud jerk traveler, you know, because and I've been there before, you know, where you have a lot to drink and like you're doing stupid stuff. But like, if you're in it for the long haul and you're going to be traveling, be respectful to the locals.
That's an awesome point. I like to ask people about mental health while traveling because I know it's a really big factor for me. How do you stay motivated mentally and take care of yourself?
Well, first with the mental health thing, I agree with you 100%. Like, I think even someone with I guess quote unquote good mental health can have a traumatic things happen in their life where they take a hit. Like for me personally, I got divorced like, you know, 3.5 years ago, and for me, that was a mental, I took a hit mentally with that. Definitely, I guess I had as close of whatever a nervous breakdown is. I think I definitely was going through some of that, but staying sharp mentally or keeping yourself, I think for me, it's journaling. Every day I love to journal. It's something that stays consistent with me. Yeah. I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for in the morning and 3 things I'm grateful for at night. I think that kind of helps give you that nice little peace and perspective and something consistent that you do every day. And then the other one is, I know it sounds crazy, but Instagram has really been,
that does sound crazy.
Because it's a double-edged sword. But I'll tell you what, for me, even though I'm away from my family and friends, Instagram is a way for me to connect with my family and friends. It's the way I do the majority of my communication through the Instagram Messenger. For example, like my sister, just looking at hers and seeing like her boys on her Instagram, or like just whatever it is, or your other friends back home. Instagram, to me, if you're using it the right way and not in a negative way, can be that connection to loved ones, friends you meet along the road. So like that does give me some peace.
I like that you make that point because I think a lot of people are learning in this moment in the world right now that social media actually has a lot of benefits, and we see it as like a negative mental health thing, but you're absolutely right. Connecting with people, no matter how far you are, is really important to your mental health.
Right. And again, like something like Instagram, it has that other edge of the sword where it's like you need that self gratification, you know, like the likes or people looking at my posts and things like that, or checking it constantly. But if you're using it to just connect with people, there's where I think is the positive. And I think that gives you that peace of mind, because a connection is important. And even though you're meeting amazing people on the road, you're going to have lonely moments. I still have them. I've had them. You have these lonely moments, and sometimes it's nice just to kind of like, you see a picture or you see something that just connects you back to that family member or that friend or home, whatever it is. It gives you peace, and I think those are good things to have for good headspace. You know.
What are some of the most significant cultural differences that you have experienced while traveling?
Getting into again, more the Muslim countries like Bosnia, Morocco, like seeing where religion is just all over the place now, and you're having to respect and see the different customs and things like that with the religion. And then now I'm here in Southeast Asia, like when I was in Nepal, oh my goodness, like you know, from like the Hindu and Buddhism, and like you see this everywhere, and then you see the culture, like what they do around that, and you just have to respect it. And I'm not a religious person, but I respect it and I love learning.
Do you ever feel like there's a disparity or a discomfort coming from the United States and being in countries that are mainly Muslim or Hindu, or, and not in a negative way, but just what do you learn from those experiences?
A lot. I'm from Texas, like I grew up in Texas, and I would say there's stereotypes that you grow up with, and unfortunately, like for example, with Muslims, sometimes there can be these negative stereotypes with them. But from what I've seen is God, there's some of the sweetest, nicest people, and I love their and respect so much their customs and things like this. And again, like I said, like I had never been really in that environment. So for me, it was important to put myself in that environment and to experience it firsthand. And that's really why I traveled in the first place. I didn't travel to see more of what I have experienced in America. I wanted to experience different things. So like for me, just having that understanding and respect for the other religions and what they do, and not having that negative stereotype, and kind of debunking that really, like, because they are just normal people that love their families and and go about their everyday life. And they're just, and the thing that's fascinating is, even though you are like, I am just this American, walk around and I clearly am someone different, their hospitality is still so amazing, and it's just fast. It's when you see stuff like that, it really does just open your eyes.
What is the biggest lesson or takeaway that you have from traveling?
Be willing to learn new things. Everything's not like your hometown, it's different, and it's important to be open-minded and to learn about why other places are the way they are, and having a genuine curiosity. And you start learning so much, not only about the cultures, but you actually start learning about yourself.
Awesome. Is travel for everyone?
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, I would love to say yes, everyone needs to go travel, which I think is the case. But then there are just some people that it's just not for them. Like they're not able to take the uncertainty of where they're going to be sleeping that night, or where they're going to be the next day, or there's so much that's out of your control on the travel road. And I think some people don't like that feeling. They want to know what's going to happen next, and that's okay. But I think that can be overwhelming for a lot of people.
Where are you going next once you're out of quarantine?
Yeah, that's a tough question in these times. But my next place that I was going to go before we got on lockdown here in Thailand, I was actually looking at workaways in the Philippines. That's not going to happen anymore. But I would love to go to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is kind of I was traveling with a Czech guy I met at a Vipassana meditation center in Nepal. We traveled for about 6 weeks together after that. But he had been to Sri Lanka for like a month and a half and just was raving about it. And that's what got me thinking about it. And I met other people that just
I've heard
say
really
how
good
amazing
things,
it is there. I really, really would like to go to Sri Lanka if I can.
Yes, well, my fingers are crossed for you because you're still out there, and I want to see all your pictures.
Yeah. I'll for the gram. What about you? What's next for you? You know?
It's really, everything is uncertain right now.
Right.
But I mean, if I could pack up and go tomorrow, I really want to go back to Mexico. I'm really feeling Mexico these days.
Oh, cool. Nice.
I don't know.
The cumbia. You'd be killing the cumbia. Is it the cumbia, the dance?
Cumbia?
Cumbia, right?
I dance a little bit of cumbia. I'm better at like salsa.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cumbia. So you'd have to go there and learn the cumbia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, and this is my last question, wrap-up question. Where should people go? If you had to recommend one place in the world for people to travel to, what would it be?
I would say this. I wouldn't say anywhere specific. I would actually just say go somewhere you normally wouldn't. Like, go somewhere that gets you out of your comfort zone. It's a scary decision for a lot of people to make, but I can't recommend that enough. And even if they are someone that loves to have that set plan, even if you do go somewhere, give yourself one day, like a full day of literally winging it, and just go and do something that you normally wouldn't. anywhere in the world, and go somewhere where the locals go. Don't get off the tourist trail and just go. And you're going to, I promise you will survive.
Yeah.
I promise you will survive. A lot of people think they're going to get robbed, and
we've all made it through.
Worst.
That is probably the best piece of advice that you have shared this whole time. I love that.
Awesome.
Do you want to share your, is your Instagram public?
Yeah, I love talking with people, and meeting new people. So my personal Instagram that I started on my travels, and I continue, I post obviously travel related things and just like silly things stories throughout my day, is Whale in the World. My last name is Whalen. Mm-hmm. So it's Whale in the World. So you can follow me at Whale in the World for my travel related stories. And I recently created another Instagram page that is only fitness related, and it's called Nomad Fitness Hacks.
Oh my God, I'm going to need to follow this. I didn't know about that.
So now I have one specifically for digital nomads and travelers, for people that are on the road. And just like you said, still looking for how do I stay fit, and what are some things I can do without equipment and things like that. Mm-hmm. I just do a ton of workouts, where right now I'm just doing them in Thailand, but I'm going to provide workouts that I'm doing throughout my travels and throughout the world. But yeah, so Whale in the World and Nomad Fitness Hacks.
Okay, this is the end of the podcast for today. Steven, thank you so much for being here. I'm really inspired by your travels, so I hope other people are too when they hear this and when they follow you.
Thank you, Sarah. It was a pleasure, and as always, love talking and catching up and sharing any stories I can to help other people out there and inspire them to hit the travel road.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Friendly Faces, Amazing Places. If you'd like to see pictures from my guests' travels, go ahead and check out our Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube channels. And if you want to stay up to date on future upcoming episodes, please follow and subscribe.